Games, boards, games. I might be talking about boards, games, but I'm not gonna shout. I am talking about the creation of board games and their inspiration. And if you want to look at other games, then I think that's a fine thing to happen. I think that you should use all the advances we have. But if you're just ripping off someone else, then obviously that is bad. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are, 10 a.m. is UK time. Time for Busy Beats and Board Game Blether, episode 963, where I'm saying, learn from others, don't steal, and talking about where the balance is. And basically, it seems to me like as long as you're expanding and refining the game design, it's probably okay. But if your improvement is in the product design, in the marketing, then license the game design. I mean, ideally, we would be giving credit where credit is due, but it is a blurry line. I am going to accept that. And yeah, I will talk about a couple of stories and hopefully clarify where I am personally. Firstly, recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights, recent highlights. Yesterday, just a lot of, yeah, didn't do much yesterday, just a lot of playing on Board Game Arena. Apparently the arena mode is finishing at 1 p.m. today, so I'm hoping to finish some games of photosynthesis so that I can climb up the rankings. Currently number 4 at photosynthesis in the world, apparently. This morning, top, was on the couch, did a tiny bit of work, was checking out some word games, and it's that inspired me to make this topic, where I was looking at other word games whilst I was thinking about ideas for Questable, my cooperative mission-based game for the L deck that Kirsten Lunda designed, and I've done, I would say, like, yes, still, like, there's so much level design in there to do, and content design, by which I mean designing. We've got the framework basically sorted, but then the nuances, content design, I mean, like, with Trivial Pursuit, writing out the exact questions, with Yogi, deciding exactly what the instructions on that card should be. That's what I call, like, the content design, like the card design, the mission design, the level, whatever. But yeah, I got up, I did that, and then I done a wee bit of laundry and had a shower. So yeah, off to a good start, and it's sunny. I'm excited. So brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? I think that having something that you do every day, being like, okay, boom, I'm going to get the shower, get on the road, having that routine. Routine is a brilliant thing because it can get you on the way, can get you out of your headspace and just feel like, yes, now the day is started. So yeah, start your day with a routine. That's what I'm saying. As always, comment, ask questions from follow as I get to the main topic. Okay, so let me tell you a wee story. So when I made the game, I don't have, and sorry about that noise. When I made the game In a Bind, which has now been redone as Yogi, it was originally inspired by Flux. And at this point, you wouldn't see that connection. But it was me thinking, oh, you know what? I would like to have my own game where you're passing around cards and you're thinking about stuff, but maybe slightly less chaotic than Flux. I mean, look, Flux is fine, but it's incredibly tactical. I mean, someone can just jump in, be dealt like an opening hand of cards, and then win straight away. Conversely, you can go like hours and hours without anyone having any possibility of winning, which just seems like a feel-bad moment. And I wanted to have something inspired directly by someone else's prototype where as soon as you got to the end of the deck, that was it, and the game was over. Now, in that initial prototype, there was one card that forced you to stand up, and I was encouraged to follow this train of thought. And so, from being inspired by something else, I went on and then I found my own mojo. I explored physical stuff. I explored verbal stuff that didn't quite work so well. So that's why there's not really any in at least Yogi or Yogi Guru. Like a small smattering's okay, but like having the entire game based on verbal stuff, no, that was no good. Eventually took points out until it was something far more resembling Twister than Flux, like a completely physical game about escalate. And it was at this point that some people said, surely this already exists. I mean, and I explored. I looked at all the things that were coming out at that time. I think Body Party by Eric Martin was just coming out that year, and Funny Bones had been around for a while. I bought a copy of Twister Hoopla that I got for fairly cheap off eBay or something. I looked at the reviews and instructions on Board Game Geek for like Finger Twister, and I typed in a whole bunch of words to try and search for all the big body dexterity games that I could find. And one that I already knew about, one that I already loved, was Dancing Eggs. And I didn't feel like, okay, you know what? Dancing Eggs allows you to hold the eggs around your body. Let's stay away from that. No. What I did is I said, you know what? Dancing Eggs allows you to do this thing, and that's funny. And that feels like a natural part of my game because Yogi already had its own identity. It was simply draw a card, do what it says. At the time it was have two cards, give one to someone else who has to do what it says, and then you keep picking on other people to slow and sadistic mode, which I'm really proud of, and a lot of people don't actually know that it exists, even though it's in the instructions. But I looked at these games, I looked at Dancing Eggs, and then when it was like, okay, egg in the armpit, in the shoulder, between the legs, I pondered these things and thought, okay, which of these could I use for my game? Okay, between the legs, I've already decided it's not suitable. I want to keep it above the waist so that people can see it from the other side of the table, but I am going to do it under here and over there, and I added a whole bunch more. Inspired by that, the card balancing became a bigger and bigger thing because it is funny to see someone covered with cards, and you can say card touching eyebrow and left eyebrow and right eyebrow and nose and whatever. And that's what I'm kind of getting at. Once a game has its own identity, I think it's totally fine to look at other stuff to be like, okay, cool, what's going on here? But at the same time, there are some things where it's like, okay, is this just an advancement? Is it a re-implementation? Is it a rip-off? Like, if you look at herd mentality compared to Hive Mind by Richard Garfield, if you compare Don't Get Got to I Betcha, there are functional game design differences. The overall structure is the same, and so whilst I could be a bit of a curmudgeon and say, yeah, it would be nice if they acknowledged the original people and what had come before, I think that there is value in changes. I mean, like when Dominion came out, it's good for games that we get more deck builders. It's good for games that we get more modular stuff. It's good for games that we don't have a patent on being able to use hexagons or irregular shapes or stuff like that in board games. That worker placements, I mean, I think it came from like Aladdin's Dragons, and then but like it was very much popularized in later games like Kalis and then Grickland. There's so much going on in those, and Stone Age uses similar mechanics, but it builds upon them and it changes them. And I think that's a key thing. Like, when you are dealing with a strategy game, you can change a lot of stuff around that game, around that central mechanism. When it's a party game, you can't really change that much. And so I would argue that making a small change, if it's genuinely meaningful from a game rules content management point of view, then it's probably okay. I mean, but I I just think that in an ideal world, there would be the idea of, hey, I've come up with this cool idea, therefore everyone's going to pay respect to me and everyone's going to acknowledge me. That's a really cool thing. And it is a shame that mechanics cannot be patented or copyrighted in some way. But the fact that we can build upon each other and not have to reinvent the wheel every time does also mean that games continue to evolve and improve. I mean, at its time, the idea of going round the board in Monopoly was such a big deal. At its time, the idea of like recent trading cards game with Magic the Gathering was such a big deal. And I think it's absolutely fine that then more trading cards games came about, and after living cards games came about, and yeah, sure, that term's been copyrighted, but then we got expandable cards games. And I think it's good for the industry that we build upon each other's knowledge base, that it's not just academics and people putting out books like Jeff Engelstein and Isaac Shalev making building blocks of tabletop game mechanisms, but we actually see a game, say, hey, that's doing something cool, maybe I can build upon that. Hello, Xate, it is lovely to see you. And yeah, this is going to be a relatively short stream. It's just like me on my own doing a bit of a rant and ponder, and I don't think there's any clear answer. But what do you think? Do you think there's a line between, where do you think the line is between rip-off and genuinely just building on stuff? I mean, like with the whole TikTok Woodman kerfuffle, and then there was another version called Bamboo Bash, which happened when the publisher lost the license, and it felt like you've just lost the license to this game, and the only difference really from a gameplay point of view is a minor little thing that you've got the panda on top, and the product design, sure, that's different. But from a gameplay point of view, you should be still respecting the original person who made this idea of like knocking a thing off. But then, yeah, I'm biased. I am a game designer, and I would love to be rewarded for coming up with cool ideas, even if my version isn't necessarily the one that becomes the best known or whatever. If someone could legally remake a game about cute comical creatures and trying to identify them after some makes noises, just by redrawing all the creatures and rewriting the instructions, and legally that's totally fair. And obviously I would be very bummed. I would be very I'd be disappointed and maybe angry, I don't know, and frustrated and sad. And obviously it would be good to be able to have protection, but where is the line? And that's just something that I don't think there's. Yeah, sorry, I feel like I started this stream, I'm kind of making a promise to come up with some clear answer, but there just is not any clear answer, and that's the thing. I think that all we can do is try to moderate it as a community. If you see something that's a bit too close or very close to something else, when it's being promoted, maybe say, hey, this is really good. Actually, I prefer the original version, or hey, it was also good when this other person made it. Oh yeah, Don't Get Got's a cool game, but I actually prefer the far lesser known I Betcha. And I do actually prefer the original version. I think that's all. Most of the changes make it a worse game, in my personal opinion. And yeah, I betcha remains basically unknown. And I would argue strongly that that's entirely down to the marketing. But that's not an excuse for another company to just come off and remake it and redo it. If In a Bind hadn't been picked up, I could have imagined like some other company coming and doing something very similar because they can legally, but hopefully people would step in and say, hey, this is not okay. I mean, there was a game that was somewhat different, and I didn't feel it was too close for comfort. I felt it was different enough that, yeah, it's going to fail on its own merits, in my opinion. But so many people went into the board game ratings and said, hey, this is a ripoff, this is a ripoff. And when the Bamboo Bash kerfuffle happened, people were vocal. And what I'm saying is that we can't stop doing that. If someone brings it up, then mention, hey, by the way, I preferred TikTok Woodsman because that's by the original designer, and I feel like there's not enough changes made to merit avoiding giving the original designer royalties. I think that that's kind of a shitty thing to do. And yeah, I mean, you can never tell how someone did something. Sometimes it is genuinely a case of parallel design. Sometimes two people come up with a very similar rule. Sometimes two people will come up with an identical game if it's simple enough or whatever, and it'll be like, oh wow, are they rip? No, it's not that they're ripping, but yeah, all we can do is call out other people, keep doing this as an industry. If you're aware of a previous game, then please call it out. And I guess that's, if I've got any conclusion, that's it. So, as I wrap up, let me ask the question of the day. Question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. My question of the day is grape juice. How do you feel about grape juice? I like red grape juice. I mean, it's a lot more sugary than I think it's. But like, I like sometimes having a bottle of red grape juice and then drinking like a tiny bit, every so often. But yeah, I'm a fan of grape juice. How about you? Do you enjoy grape juice? Do you enjoy wine? Let me know. I'm not the biggest fan of wine. I mean, it's okay if you're having a glass, then I would gladly have a sip. But yeah, it's not like, wow, I need to keep having this. So over to you. What are you up to? You can share button if you want to. Are you drinking grape juice today? What are you drinking today? Is there something that you need to do? Something that you want to do? Please share. I promise that I care. I really should get on top of my postal stuff. I'm planning on having someone over for the afternoon. We might eat together and go walking and do a bit of playtesting, and then I'm having someone else over potentially in the evening. That's basically my day. Playtesting and maybe posting. I really should do the posting. That's like something that I need to get my posterior in gear. But yeah, what are you up to? To recap and wrap up before we finish up. To recap and wrap up, Yogi started off being designed around Flux, and then, yes, I looked up Dancing Eggs and all sorts of stuff, because once a game has its own identity, I think it's important to check out what else there is and, yeah, take the lessons from there, but make each game its own. Think about what's the value of this game. If the value of this new edition is that the rules have been refined and it's functionally different to play because of the rules design and everything, then great. But if the value of the game is that you've changed the graphics or the product design is totally different, then you really should be paying royalties to the original designer. I think that as a community, the best thing we can do is call out bad examples, and if you see something and you say, hey, that's very similar to that, call it out. Don't be afraid to do this. And people should be more open to being called out, and be aware of parallel design, of course. But yeah, also I said that I liked. The question was, do you like grape juice? Do you like wine? That's my question for you. How do you feel about? And hello to me. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. And so yeah, grape. I like grape juice. I'm not the biggest fan of wine, but I'll have a sip. And yeah, I'm going to do posting and playtesting today. So what are you up to? Let me know. As always, unless people have stuff in the next 30 seconds, I want to say share, spread the word. And thank you very much, everyone, to come in here. Timmy says, I like grape juice. Wine is okay. I like grape popsicles a lot and grape pop. I'm trying to think if I've got. We don't really have fizzy grape juice, like sugary grape juice over here, in a way. And we don't have grape popsicles here. Anyway, how was your sleep? Like, this seems like what's the word I'm looking for? When deja vu. Going to McDonald's to get a breakfast bagel. I hope you enjoy. And how was your sleep? But everyone, lots of love. Thank you very much. And I am going to finish up. Here's all my links: Stuff by Bez, stuffbybez.bigcards.com, twitter.com/stuffbybez, instagram.com/stuffbybez, twitch.tv/stuffbybez, youtube.com/stuffbybez, and of course stuffbybez.com/discord if you want to join my Discord. Tomorrow I am having Jess Metheringham on. Then Thursday I'm having Layla, and yeah, Friday will be a quick thing. You can see what's going on, and yeah, and it's just 37 days until my amazing 1000th episode finale. Slept a lot, but from noon until 9 p.m. That's not great, but I guess at least you slept. But lots of love to you all. I hope that you have a wonderful day, whatever you're up to. And the only thing left for me to say at this point is bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, bye, everyone. Bye, 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 bye.